Okay. Yeah, well, we'll start standing. We'll do plenty on the mat as well. Place. All right, so just get comfortable in the feet. Really open up your shoulders. Grow tall through the crown of your head. And we'll start with some shoulder circles. So just, it's like you're shrugging them up and then opening them up and then sliding them down your back. So backward direction circles. Steady your breath while you focus on the movement. Make sure you're not holding your breath. You can start that breath coming up the nose and out your mouth. Good. And then we'll take it to one shoulder only. It just doesn't matter which. Obviously, we'll do both. So just rolling it back a couple of times more. Then on the next one, at the end of that circle, slide your hand down your side and then roll around to the front until your fingertips are over your knees and rebuild that upper back. We'll do that to the same side again. So rolling back with the shoulder. After a couple more, when you finish with it in its open position, then slide into a side bend, roll around and rebuild. One more to the same side will do. Lovely. When you're back up to the top, we'll go to the other side. This next circle, slide down the side. In your own time, a couple more to this side. All the way back up. Good. And now we'll float the arms up and out to the sides. And then down. Good. Next time, just take them to put the hands behind your head. We're going to lift the shoulders up towards the ears, slide them away from the ears, fingertips up, and then come all the way down. If you want to, add the tiptoes to this. You're floating up, hands behind the head, shrugging up, sliding down, all the way up, and then down. Good, we'll do it again. Lovely. And this time the fingertips just come up to shoulder height. We're going to open up the front of the chest and also try and extend into it. So keep your tailbone magneting down to the mat behind you. And when you open up the front of the chest, try and send the center of your chest up to the ceiling. And then lower. If you want to, you can stay here for a breath in. And then lower. Or you can keep moving on every element of the breath. But here you can out breath up, in breath to stretch, and then lower. But really think about that opposite pull, like magnets, of your breastbone up to the ceiling and your tailbone down to the mat. Just one more. And rest your arms for now. All right, we'll take it to a little bit of a one-leg balance. We're just transferring the weight across from side to side, working towards taking more weight on one foot. Feel your center engaged, try and keep that upright position. And if you can, float up with that leg. If not, just keep it so that the toes rest as you transfer. But if you can, float the knee up. Remember to keep the shoulders open. Try and keep tension away from your upper body. Keep the tension here where it helps you with your balance. The shoulders stay open, they stay away from your ears. Back of the neck stays long. Crown of the head just growing really tall. Okay. Float the arms back up. And we're going to carry on, but this time, as you transfer the weight, you're going to open up the chest again. You're adding an element of balance with your stretch. You can send the eyes up, or you really struggle with your balance when you do that. Keep your eyes looking forward at something that doesn't move. But still try and send the center of your chest up towards the ceiling. Last couple. And then rest. Good. We'll do a couple more in standing. Now for some side stretches. So starting with our mermaid, with the feet underneath the hips. So this one, in breath your arm up your side, out breath little bend into the knees, and side bend over for your breath in. And then out breath back. Remember to keep the feet under the hips with equal weight between each foot. So you're not transferring your weight now. It's all in the bend in the waist. And your in-breath when you're over there in that side bend deepens the stretch. And your center just supports you in that position. If you don't rely on leaning on your hand, you have to use your center here to hold you. Some strength work as well. One more. Really open up these ribs. Good. And then we're going to widen the stance. So we'll bring it to our sides again, stretch. So your hips are nice and open. You've got the spaces underneath the arches of your feet when you come down into that plie squat. Float the arms up, but shoulder tops away from your ears. Breath in here. And then out breath across. Here and up. Keep the knees nice and wide out over your toes. Out breath over. One long line from toes to fingers while you breathe in. We're going to do one more to each side. Good. Now you can come down to the mat. We will start with some pelvic tilts, so just for now give yourself a head support. I think you'll probably only need your dinner head support today. This is the usual one that you have when you're in rest position. Use a jumper. Make your way down. And so your feet are hip width apart, comfortable distance from your bottom. Don't worry too much about your pelvic positions when you do some pelvic tilts, but make sure that your ribs are settled back on the mat. You can feel your shoulder blades and the fronts of your shoulders are nice and open. And then we'll start with movement. So tipping back, closing down the space behind your low back, peeling just the tailbone up off the mat. You're not lifting your bottom up. And then tip the other way. So if you had a Malteser on your belly, you're rolling it towards you, towards your chest, and then you tip the other way so that the Malteser rolls down. Between your legs. So nice mobility isolated to your low back. Keep your upper body soft. Good. And then we'll extend that. You take your head support away, bring your heels closer to your bottom. Next time you tip back and contact your low back with the mat, start peeling up. Work your spine up off the mat. Come into a full shoulder bridge, breath in at the top. And then peel your way back down again. So focusing in on that segmental movement, try and work on any areas of the spine that feel stiff. Aim to replace each vertebrae, even in those stiffer areas, one by one. Good. When you're down from this bridge, you might want to take your hands up towards the ceiling and do some here, peeling your way up, and then taking the arms overhead. Before replacing your spine to the mat. It feels slightly different now your shoulder blades are out of the way. And also your arms aren't supporting you on the mat. So you're working a little bit harder on your control as you come up and down. Let's do one more here. If you want to, one final one where the arms stay on the mat overhead when you replace your spine. And use an out breath to bring them all the way back over. Good. And we'll bring that head support back in again. Okay, but opening up the front of the body now, with the heels back at a comfortable distance, your lumbar spine and your low back in neutral again, that belly button and pubic bone are level, the marble or the Maltese is not rolling in either direction. You can start on an out breath, sliding your heel away. In breath it back. So it's just a one leg stretch, opening up the front of the hip, making sure you're in control of the pelvic position, making sure that you've got real precision of movement there, with softness through the upper body, lovely openness through the chest and shoulders. And the arms are light before we start adding the arms in. And then when you want to float them up, just like we did when we were doing the shoulder bridge, we're going to start taking it overhead at the same time as one foot slides away. So let the front of those shoulders stretch, but try and keep your rib cage under control, not flaring up. So you've got that consistent position between ribs and hips at the front there. Good. Keep going for a couple more. And then rest everything down. Okay. And what we'll do now is bring the feet together and the knees together, the arms out to the side, and just start doing, first of all, some slow movements where you out breath over with the legs and have a breath in and then out breath back. We'll do a few of these before we try speeding them up a little bit. Remember that foot just hops on top of the other one. Really allow the whole weight of the legs to draw your spine into the twist while you keep your shoulder blades down. And then if you want to, like I said, you can speed it up. You can go over on your out breath. In breath back. Remember to still support with your low tummy though. And then out breath straight over to the other side. Good. And your back rest. And while we're here on our backs, we'll do some stretching before changing position. So if you want to bring both knees into your chest, you can give them a hug and give your back a stretch. And we'll take one foot to the mat and slide it away. Keep that front of hip a stretch. Good, then bring the leg in and swap sides. Lovely. Resting that foot on the mat now, just take the hold behind the thigh so that you can straighten it up for a hamstring stretch. Remember to keep breathing. Try and relax into the stretch so you're not fighting, and hopefully you will actually gain some change. Keep the ankle relaxed. Lovely, let it bend. So you can do the other side. Behind the thigh, support it, straighten it up slowly. Feel that point of stretch. You can always ease a little bit more into it if you feel like you gain some. Lovely. Okay, so from there we'll come over onto our sides. Oh, you do need a bigger cushion actually. Sorry, we're going to do arm openings. So this is where if you've got a thicker cushion, pop that under your head and take your arms out in front of you. All right, so stack your hips, lengthen your waist, arms out in front, make sure both shoulders are away from your ears, and we'll start just by tracing along the lower arm, across the chest. Encourage the centre of the chest open to the ceiling, but keep the knees down and the hip forward. And then back. So moving on the out breath, really encouraging the movement to be a rotation through the upper back, dropping those back ribs to the mat behind you, breathing in the stretch. And then back. And then if you want to, you could start arcing over instead. Encouraging the same movement through the chest, but with a long arm. So just over press you a bit more. And then back. Try and keep that hip position, that pelvic position really locked in, like you're bolted down through your hips, down into the mat, so they can't go anywhere. Great. And we'll have a sit up. Do some sitting before we work on the other side. So however you're comfortable sitting. We'll start with some flexion. So if you take your arm into like this sort of Cossack position in front, if you can, keep your shoulders away from your ears. And start by taking your chin down onto your chest, aim to get your nose down towards your breastbone, and then peel each vertebrae down from the base of the neck down, down, down the upper back. Have a breath. And then rebuild from there up, up, up. And there's the last thing to come up. Chin down, nose down, and then each vertebrae from the base of the neck. Breathe in, and then rebuild. One more. And rest your arms across your chest for a couple of twists before we try and do sword. If you just want to carry on with twists, then that's fine. So all the way around the upper body, breathe in your stretch. And then back. Good. And this is where you can, if you want to, take the legs out. It helps if you sit on a cushion, if your hamstrings are a bit tight. So you can take your legs out, but try and get your pelvis a little bit tipped forward. Takes the stretch off them a little bit. Arms out at shoulder height or leave them crossed if your neck doesn't like this. And we're going to move on an in-breath around. Out breath, reach towards the toes of the opposite foot. Come back and untwist. Keep moving. This is why I want you to stretch your hamstrings first. Try and keep both sitting bones really grounded down on your cushion. Your shoulders check in with them every time you come back. And they're not creeping up towards your ears. Last one to each side. And then rest. Great. We're going to come to our other sides. With your bigger head support, arms out in front of you. Starting with your tracing or drawing a bow kind of action. Moving on your out breath. Breathing in there. And back. And then when you're ready, if you want to, up and over. Watching that hand go like we're drawing a rainbow. Look after your shoulder, drop it the ribs, not the arm. And after this one, rest. And we're going to take it into 4.0. So we'll turn over. We'll start, once you've got into position with your hands underneath your shoulders. Good, knees under your hips. Just have a little play around with that back position. Make sure your low back is neutral. Look down between your hands, and we'll just start by trying to sink the center of your chest down towards the mat. The elbows aren't bending, it's not a push-up. Keep your elbows just straight but soft, and then draw the center of your chest away from the mat. So at the moment it's not cat and cow, it's just up and back where you're focusing your movement. Your shoulder blades are wrapped towards each other when you sink your chest, and then they space as you try and send the center of that upper back up to the ceiling. But your low back position is staying neutral for now. And you just keep looking down between your hands. And back to the middle. And we'll change it slightly and take it to the cat and cow now. So now involve your low back. Tip forward through your pelvis, send the center of your chest forward and look forward as well. Breathe in. And then tuck your tailbone under, draw the center of your back up to the ceiling. You can look between your thighs while you breathe in. And just keep moving on your out breath. And having a breath in when you're stretching. And come back to neutral. And from here, we're going to take just one hand and pass it through. And then bring it up. And if you want to, open into the opposite direction before you put it down. Do the other side. So pass the other one through. Either back to the mat, or if you want to open up. Try and keep your pelvis level across its back. So it's all coming from that mid and upper back stretch. Another one to each side. Last one. And then lower. And now you can sit your bottom back to your heels. You can leave your knees close to each other for now. Just see if you can get your bottom onto your heels and lower your chest down. And you can just stay like this in child's pose if you want to. If you want to carry on that stretch that we were just doing there, you can try passing one arm through to really stretch the back of the shoulder. Good, and then if you've done that, obviously you want to give the other side a go. Good. Bottom back to your heels. But this time just shift it across towards one heel. You're going to lift it up, push it to one side and lower it back down onto one heel. And then to increase the stretch, you can walk your hands, both of them, around the opposite side. Get that full stretch down the side of your body and into your glute and your hip there. Lovely. Walk the hands back, shift the bottom the other way. Hands around. Good. And then back to the centre. We'll come into 4-point wheel again. You're just pushing yourself back up again. See if you can bring one leg forward. You can always grab the foot and push it where you need it to be. And then slide the back leg away. That's it. So you can stay high to start with if you want to. Give this hip flexor another nice stretch. And then when you're ready, lower yourself down so you can get more in the other glute. Coming back up onto your hands, tuck your back toes under, straighten that leg so that you can join it and swap sides. Stay on your hands while you make sure that you're positioned well, and then you can lower yourself down. Now be back up onto your hands. And those toes tuck under behind you. Join it. This time, bring your knees to bend and then lower them down so you're back in your kneeling position, your 4-point kneel position. But widen the knees, big toes together, and send your bottom back to them. For another child's pose, but this time you can sink your chest deeper if possible. Try and get more of an upper back stretch into extension before you rest your head so that you can relax. Lovely. Walk your hands back. Bring your knees back in line. Tuck your toes under. We'll lift the bottom up. And the backs of the legs, one more stretch. And we'll finish with a couple of roll downs, although we're starting with an up. So breathing in at the bottom, knees are soft. And then power breath, tuck your tailbone and rebuild on top. All the way through the spine, level by level. And the head floats up last. Breathing in at the top so that you can do another one in your own time. We're finishing up in standing after this one. We'll bring the hands to link and look down at them. Lift them up in front. Turn the palms over if you want to, or not if you don't. Leave the backs of the hands pressing forward if you prefer. You're breathing in and really stretching between your shoulder blades, sending the breath out into the upper back. And then lift them up. So they press up towards the ceiling. You can watch them go up there. Breathe in at the top, the tailbone stays down on the mat. Towards the mat anyway. And then separate your arms. Link them behind and press them behind you towards the mat. Open up the fronts of your shoulders and breathe in. Then lift them from your bottom, stretch the fronts of the shoulders. And release. And with your arms either just alongside you or you can loosely link them behind you. Grow tall through the back of your neck, so really tuck your chin in and take your ear over to the shoulder. And up. And other side. And up. All done.